Good Friday morning, and thank you so much for joining us here for Live Impact News here in 13 News Now Plus. My name is Eugene Daniel. I'm joined in studio by producer Nia Campbell and meteorologist Hunter Force, who's there giving the double wave this morning. I can tell you right now we are anticipating at some point today hearing from federal NTSB officials about that deadly crash that claimed the life of former NASCAR driver Greg Biffle and his family. We're on standby for that at some point, hopefully throughout this stream here over the next 2 hours. In the meantime, let's talk about the forecast here today as we have a lovely look at the Nauticus camera there behind you. Nauticus that has the Wisconsin that had a big win last night. We're going to talk about that too. Hand claps for them. But it also looks like we got some people off of a cruise that just got into town. But good timing. What kind of forecast can they expect if they're coming back into Hampton Roads here today?
It's going to be windy. Luckily, the bulk of the rain is pushed out, so we're going to stay dry the rest of the day. Could see, maybe an isolated sprinkle over the next half an hour or so, but that's really about it. And behind the cold front turning very windy, we have a wind advisory in effect for the eastern shore, gusts 40 to 45 miles per hour. But even around here in Norfolk, we could see wind gusts up to about 45 or 40 at least miles per hour. But no wind advisory here for us. Here's a look at our satellite and radar, and we had some showers pushing through earlier this morning, but the bulk of the heaviest of rain came on through, overnight, around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when we saw the heaviest of rain, but luckily for the morning commute, wasn't too bad. And then we had the actual cold front pushing through, right now, and that's going to actually drop our temperatures throughout the day today. Now, let's take a look, actually, at where we started this morning. Mid-60s. I walked outside this morning, and I was like, this is absolutely fantastic. It felt so comfortable. You didn't have to run to your car because it's absolutely freezing outside. So it was just a nice change of pace if it wasn't raining on you. Luckily, it was nice in downtown. So it was a nice little stroll this morning, but we're going to see some big changes over the day today because temperatures are just going to continue to go down and down and down. Let's take a look at the wind forecast throughout the day. So gusts up to about 30 to 40 miles per hour, more out of the north and the west, so that's going to help bring in some of that cooler air. But luckily, we'll see the winds going down tonight into the day tomorrow. So right now, we're in the mid to lower 60s, but look behind the cold front. Temperatures already dropping quickly, into the lower 50s. By this afternoon, still mid to upper 50s, so not too bad, but it's going to be spring this morning and then back to winter heading into our Friday night because then we're back into the mid to low 30s. 30 in Williamsburg, and you guys were waking up in the 60s this morning. So major changes on the way, but luckily we'll see some clear skies heading into Friday night. Just going to need a jacket. Mid to upper 20s overnight. A nice start to our Saturday morning. Not very breezy, so that's not too bad. And then as we head into the afternoon, we're only in the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees. Could be a bit cooler, closer to the coast around Virginia Beach, Cape Charles, and Accomack, but lower 50s around Suffolk, Murfreesboro, Petersburg, and then Saturday night, not looking too bad. Temperatures dropping into the mid to upper 30s to right around 40 degrees. So back to regular scheduled programming. By Sunday afternoon, still a sunny start to the day. So things are looking pretty good heading into the weekend. Again, highs on Saturday, cooler in the upper 40s to right around 50 degrees. But by Sunday, we are back into the mid to upper 50s, mostly sunny and warmer. So, any outdoor plans this weekend, it's looking really nice. If you have any outdoor decorations you still got to put up, honestly, either day isn't bad for it. Sunday would be more of my pick, closer to 60 degrees, feeling a little bit more comfortable. But if you like the upper 40s, Saturday is the day for you. And if you're, going anywhere this weekend, an early, holiday trip, D.C., Richmond, Charlottesville, the Outer Banks, upper 40s to low 50s on Saturday, but then upper 50s to low 60s on Sunday with a good amount of sunshine. So a lot of places across the region going to have really nice weather the weekend before Christmas Eve and Christmas. So it's exactly what we like to see. And temperatures heading into next week going to continue to stay rather comfortable, except Monday. We'll be back into the low 40s, but it's not going to be that prolonged cold stretch that we've been seeing pretty much all December, especially for the first 2 weeks of December. Wednesday, Thursday, Christmas Eve and Christmas, we are back into the mid 50s. Could we even get into the low 60s next Friday? I mean, that is a really nice stretch of temperatures. Yes. Above average. We're not used to that.
No, and that is a really good Christmas weekend forecast.
It really is.
It's not too cold, not too hot.
No. I mean, people are going to be out and about with their new gifts, scootering around. If you got a new bike,
show it off. Hey man, I got this bike this year.
Exactly.
Wheelies in the streets for sure. I will say I was rather confused. I tried to pick my clothes out in advance this week, and just when I get my mind set on something, that's what I'm doing. That's why I have on this hot turtleneck right now, coming outside, and I said, "Oh my gosh, it is not cold." Not cold.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I'm
know.
still going for the look, for the aesthetic,
yeah.
But I will be very honest right now. If anyone's thinking, is he hot? I am. I am. Right
Beauty.
It does look rather warm, but it looks good.
It's crispy.
Beauty is pain.
In more ways than one.
It is.
In more ways than one. And Hunter, I know we've been talking a few different times now about looking into the winter season. And for those who have not tuned in with us here in the last few days, maybe they're off today and they're doing so right now. What are we looking like and thinking of in terms of an average or maybe below average type of winter season, as we're not too far away from kicking that off?
I think we could be a little bit above average in terms of winter as a whole, but I mean, I still think we're going to have some major temperature swings, similar to what we've been seeing, over the last couple of weeks, where one day it's 60 and then the next day it's 30 degrees for a high. I think we're going to continue with that trend as we go through the next couple of months. So I don't think, we're going to be seeing, extremely hot temperatures or, temperatures, in the teens, for highs. I'm sure we will see them, in the morning and overnight. But you never know. But I still think we're going to be seeing these major temperature swings over the next couple of months. We're in La Nina pattern, so technically we could be, a little bit warmer than average, but still could be. That doesn't mean, every day will be, in the 50s and 60s, because it's an average. So one day it could be 40, and then the one day, is 60. So then you're technically at average. You know what I mean? So, you just got to watch days in advance, prepare. If, you have things outdoors during the weekend, Saturday could be 40 and then Sunday could be 60. So, it's just one of those winters where I think you just got to have an outfit prepared for every season.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, or just have your outfits chosen in advance like I have at this point. But you know what you're talking about for the season, and it is still the holiday season. And, normally we would get into something maybe a little bit harder here early, but we're still waiting on a few things to kind of kick off here this morning. And I want to highlight and celebrate just right there behind you. We were talking about Nauticus, which is the home for the Battleship on the Wisconsin, which is the home for Winterfest on the Wisconsin, and they took home a major win last night. Nauticus Winterfest on the Wisconsin was crowned the winner of ABC's The Great Christmas Light Fight in the 2025 heavyweight division. If you have not been or you have been to Winterfest, you know it is a staple of the holiday season here in the Norfolk region. My mom, my parents, they come every year. They want to go to the lights on the boat, as they say it. They can never remember the name. Can we go to the lights on the boat? Which, I mean, there were a bunch of different venues across the country that were featured in this. And so for them to take home that prize that aired last night is really a great sense of pride for really all of Hampton Roads and anyone who's participated. And I know that you recently went to the Wisconsin. Was it for the first time for Winterfest?
Yes, this is for the first time.
What did you
It
think?
felt very much surreal for me. I loved it. I think that it was very neat and clean. You know, sometimes with lights it can get very junky and overwhelming, but no, you had like different parts where you can digest what the lights were doing, and then they had different themes like the candy cane theme, and then they had someone I think got proposed to because we saw a sign that said, "Will you marry me?" Yeah, I got that in my little video as well. So I loved it, and so see them get that big win last night.
Yeah.
We were watching it here in the newsroom. It was amazing.
Was it "Will you marry me" with an E instead of an A? Because if it was an A, they missed an opportunity. Well, hopefully the person said yes, but you know.
Will you marry Ma?
No. Will you marry me? Marry with an E, not not me with an A.
Merry Christmas.
Merry, like Merry Christmas.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
That is,
It was Mary with an A.
I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, all
I have
right.
a
She
picture
should have
of
said
it.
no.
I'm gonna
if the
search
case.
it up.
That is a good idea, Eugene, though.
I think so. Hopefully, someone
Something to
does
think
not
about.
steal that for my own future.
Oh.
Well, here we go. Let's go ahead and do this as we cue it. I want to show people kind of what we're talking about. We actually had a story that was done by one of our photojournalists ahead of this competition that aired last night. And let's go ahead and show that. And then on the back end of it, we'll tell you what they actually win and how they were judged. But shout out to Winterfest of Wisconsin.
Tonight is such a huge night for us. It's also a huge night for this community. We are on national television. Winterfest on the Wisconsin is making its national TV debut, and we are pumped. The casting producers of The Great Light Fight reached out to us and said, we've heard all about Winterfest. We want to come. We want to shoot on location there in Norfolk, Virginia. And we said, well, come on. And we've had the best time. And the whole process has just been amazing.
It's a bit surreal to get the recognition. It was wild to get that call and to be courted. You know, of course we're honored. That's so exciting. And I really think we have what it takes to be the winners of this series. So I'm so excited for everyone to tune in and see if that happens.
The way it works is they come in a particular year for the next year's season. So what we'll see tonight was all filmed last year. And so we've been waiting for this for a very long time. We're in the heavyweight contender category, which we're really pumped up about. That vessel behind me weighs 52,000 gross tons. So we feel like we've got a shot tonight and we're going to bring it. But these are large-scale events like Winterfest throughout the country. One's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the other's in Northern California. And that's who we're going head-to-head with tonight.
Are you guys ready?
This is big time. The Battleship Wisconsin tonight is going coast to coast like butter and toast. This battleship is not just Nauticus. This is not just Norfolk's. It is for this Hampton Roads community. So we hope everybody's going to watch tonight, and we're going to see what happens.
So shout out to them, and you got a sense there of what it looks like. If you haven't been, you still have time to do so, to head to the Winterfest on the Wisconsin there, Battleship Wisconsin in downtown Norfolk. That continues through December 31st, so you still have more than a week left to do so. It's one of my favorite traditions every year here since I've moved to Hampton Roads. Now, with that victory, they got a trophy, which I do believe is now displayed there. If you were to go to the Battleship, you can see it for yourself, and they get $50,000, a $50,000 grand prize. It will go to the Nauticus Foundation, which I'm sure will support their efforts as the nonprofit has a mission that works with youth maritime education programs, and they also support ongoing preservation of the Battleship Wisconsin, which was, by the way, the last battleship built by the U.S. Navy. So it is certainly a sight to behold for you to head out. So that is amazing. Now, right now, the ship that just landed, I did look it up. is the Carnival Sunshine right there. So people are getting off of the cruise right now, and I'm sure there will be those who will be getting on. I looked up, and it looks as though they're going to head to the Bahamas for Christmas. On December 22nd is when it's going to be leaving for the next batch of folks for their holidays. Now, they're going to be going away for the holiday season, as they are laughing at me right now. But, Hunter, for those who are staying here over the next 7 days, spending their holidays maybe with loved ones in the States, what can they expect over the next 7 days?
They're going to expect some pretty good weather. Yeah, it'll be chilly Saturday, but not bad, upper 40s to right around 50 degrees, much warmer on Sunday. So, I mean, if you want to go see those lights on the Wisconsin, I mean, a great weekend for it. You don't want to miss it. I mean, it looked absolutely beautiful. I'm not shocked they won. I would love to meet the creative minds behind how they put that together, because I would love a tip or two, because I'm not creative whatsoever. But Sunday, a little bit warmer, upper 50s to right around 60 degrees. A good amount of sunshine both days. And first day of winter on Sunday. Hello. Welcome to winter, everybody. And then we drop, and it'll feel like winter on Monday, 41 degrees. And then we're back into the mid-50s for Christmas Eve and Christmas. So right now, looking like great weather for Christmas Eve and Christmas. I mean, you can't really beat that. Mid-50s. I know some people may like it a little bit colder, so it feels more Hallmarky. And, you can, wear all your winter cute clothes, but now it's more just like jeans and a light jacket instead of like a nice trench coat or something, and scarf and boots.
Got it.
Hunter,
you are hilarious.
Fashion by Hunter.
And before we go,
yes,
I wanted to show the "Will you marry me" sign.
Please. Okay, it's a little blurry there. Okay, will you marry? Okay, so they went with the traditional
nice.
MARRY. Good for them. We don't know if the person said yes or not, but hopefully for that level of effort, the person being proposed to did. However, I do think that if you're going to do that, you should change the A to an E in marry, specifically in marry.
Don't be hating on their proposal.
I'm not hating. I'm just trying to elevate people.
I think it was really cute, but I couldn't tell if this was like a part of the theme or if someone really proposed and it was like part of it.
I would imagine someone had to propose at some point that day. And maybe you were just behind them or just in front of them. That's what I would say.
Maybe we could reach out and ask.
Let's reach out to
it could be like a feel-good story for the holidays.
It was very Hallmarky.
Hallmarky. Coin that.
I'm
Go
coining
ahead.
it.
All right, Hunter, man. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us the forecast here over the next few days. A very important one as people get ready for the Christmas holiday and to celebrate throughout all the various holidays right now. I do want to turn our attention to, if we can pull up Scan PC, we have a live ceremony taking place as outgoing Police Chief in D.C., Pamela Smith, is holding what they call a walkout ceremony. Right now, the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, is giving some words. And this is as the city has named the interim chief to be Jeffrey Carroll, who's a 23-year veteran of the Metropolitan Police Department. So let's go ahead and take the mayor at this point, and we'll listen to a little bit of this ceremony.
Journey for more than 20 years to have the most professional police department in America, and I think we're succeeding. The reason that people want to work for MPD is because they have extremely interesting work to do. One day you could be looking for a child who needs to be connected with his or her parents. The next day you're supporting a head of state who's under intense scrutiny and threat. The next day you are talking to a family who's lost their loved one because of violence in our streets. The next day you're at a school trying to get a principal to help us, help their children, right? Am I right? You're doing all of those things, and you're doing it all under an intense spotlight. When I was interviewing the chief, I gave her that spiel, and at the time, you will remember, all of us gathered here will remember that we had a spike in violence that nobody could abide, especially us. Too many of our young people have been killed. Too many people were using guns. Too many offenders were going without punishment. And too few victims were getting the justice they deserved. And I asked the chief, why on earth would you take this job right now? I was worried. I was worried that people wouldn't step up because it was all downside. She says, I'm a crime fighter. I've learned MPD. I've come to love the people at MPD, and you have some good police at MPD. And I know that we can come in and drive down crime. And that is exactly what the officers, frontline, managers, executives, all locked arms to do. And over the last 2 years, and I say this without equivocation, I will not stutter, I will say it loudly, we have driven down crime in Washington, D.C. And we all know this too. We are accountable to the people of the District of Columbia. What Kevin and what Deputy Mayor Appiah know, and what all of you should know, is there is no bigger responsibility that we have in the city than to keep our people safe. Without safety, we have nothing. And during that very difficult time, I said, we will make whatever budgetary changes we have to make sure our officers are supported, and that we can attract officers to make sure our ranks are strong. And I continue that commitment. And moving forward, this city will have to continue that commitment. Public safety is always first. And so, Chief, I want to thank you for saying yes. I want to thank you for your leadership over the last 2 years. I want to thank you for your spirit of accountability. My promise to DC residents is that I'm going to be a good steward of the city's resources. And that also means our people resources, making sure that people are where they are to make the most efficient use of our money, our people, our efforts. And that is what every chief of police must do. Make sure our deployments are working. Make sure that our overtime equals less crime. Make sure that people, when they talk about DC, they're talking about how safe and beautiful we are. And you leave us with that spirit of accountability. More officers on the beat, more drug-free zones, more partnerships with nonprofits, violence interruption, more partnerships across all of our agencies working together as one government to drive down crime. I want all of our police officials to hear this, because this is what I say to our cabinet every single day, especially when in the times that crime has been tough. It's not just the police officials and officers' job to drive down crime. It's all of our job to drive down crime. So if ever we hit one of those peaks again, and I pray not, but if we do, I want you to go to Chief Carroll and say, how can I help? What can we do to support you?
It's November and Thanksgiving's almost here. Last month, a crazy turkey.
We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and we know that that future is bright. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It is my pleasure to introduce our next speakers, who will come up in succession of each other. The first speaker will be CAC Chair Lisa Laval. The next is Noble President Renee Hall. And last but not least is Ms. Cora Masters-Berry.
Excellent. My team. My team. Thank you. Thank you.
Watch it.
It is a special honor, albeit a bittersweet one, to bid farewell to our Chief of Police, Pamela Smith. Over the course of the last 2 years, it has been my privilege to work with Chief Smith, both as a member of the Chief's Citizens Advisory Council and as the chair of the 2nd District CAC. As I reflect back on our many interactions, I am filled with both admiration and gratitude to the Chief. I have long respected her sound judgment and practical, reasoned approach to keeping our city safe. But it is Pam Smith's depth of character, her unwavering sense of fairness, decency, and moral clarity that has moved me most profoundly. Our friendship was not inevitable. In fact, it was unlikely. The Chief and I come from different worlds. We differ in background, race, religion, and even political ideology. And yet, despite those differences, we forged a relationship grounded in mutual respect, trust, and genuine warmth. That, in itself, speaks volumes about who Pam Smith is. We live in a time of deep division when too often disagreement leads to distance and dialogue gives way to distrust. But in every exchange I have had with Chief Smith, she showed a rare willingness to listen, truly listen, to views different from her own, and to engage honestly, thoughtfully, and without judgment. That openness is not just admirable, it is essential to skilled leadership in our time. Before she became chief, when she served as the department's DEI director and spoke at a 2DCAC meeting, I publicly and forcefully expressed my opposition to DEI. It was a moment of sharp disagreement. What I will never forget is how Pamela Smith responded. She did not dismiss me, nor did she recoil from my forceful frontal attack. Instead, she met me with grace, reason, and quiet confidence. Metaphorically, she welcomed me into Abraham and Sarah's tent, where strangers of different customs were received with dignity and hospitality. In that space, disagreement did not divide us. It deepened our understanding, and it built trust. That spirit has defined Chief Smith's leadership. Her calm, measured demeanor, her deep personal faith, and her unshakable sense of mission have brought professionalism, integrity, and purpose to the MPD. She has led not with politics, but with principle. Chief Smith understands that public safety is not only about enforcement. It is about compassion. It is about resourcefulness. It is about reaching every corner of our community. And it is about having the courage to remain flexible, to rethink old assumptions, and to pursue better solutions. Those qualities have defined her tenure. In recent years, my community has faced a painful resurgence of anti-Semitism. With empathy, moral courage, and resolve, Pamela Smith has stood with us, steadfast and unwavering. For that, we will forever be grateful. Today, as Chief Smith retires, I join the people of Washington, D.C. in offering our heartfelt thanks for her tireless service, her openness to new ideas, her ability to bridge differences, and for the friendship she so generously gave. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your friendship, and may God bless you.
I just want to say a few words, if you will permit me. Stand right here. Stand right here. Stand right here. Stand right here. It's going to be short. It's going to be short. When I was young and in school, I learned that there were 4 seasons: fall, spring, winter, and summer. I went to church one day. I didn't fidget. I listened to the word. And I realized that there was one more season.
Come on now.
And that season was due season.
Come on now. Come on.
And
come on now.
Chief Smith is now walking out of MPD. She's walking into her due season.
Come on now.
Her due season. Thank you.
That's right.
Oh, I don't need that right now. Good morning. It is truly a blessing and an honor to be here today to support my sister. Chief, they have described you as Paul and Timothy, and Grace, but let me tell you, and you already know this, I am Deborah. I am a warrior, and I am my sister's keeper. So let me start by saying I represent the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. I am the current president. Thank you. But I am also a former police chief in the city of Dallas and a retired deputy chief out of the city of Detroit. To the women and men of the Metropolitan Police Department, to the family of Chief Smith, to the community, our elected officials, and others that are gathered here today, and to our fierce leader who has endured the storm and is still standing, Chief Pamela A. Smith, Grand Rising. Chief Smith, Scripture tells us in James 1:12, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. Today, this walkout, and a walkout means something in our profession. It is a moment reserved for leaders who have stood in the fire, carried the weight of the badge with honor, and led with courage when it was hardest to do so. And you, my sister, you did that. I speak to you today not only as a former police chief, but also as the noble national president, one who knows intimately what it means to lead in a time when the job is not about crime, but politics, pressure, and performative perception. Let me say this clearly and on the record. Noble stands with you, Chief Smith. Absolutely and unequivocally. We know what it means to lead when the winds are howling, when criticism is loud, and when the attacks are not about the work, but about the Black woman doing the work. Under Chief Smith's leadership, this department made real, undeniable, and measurable progress, reducing crime, strengthening accountability, and strengthening engagement in the community. I don't say this for the cameras or lights or talking points. I am a resident of the DMV, and these are facts. Facts that you can see and facts that you can feel. The accusations leveled at Chief Smith are not rooted in failure of her leadership. They are rooted in discomfort. Your discomfort with her authority, her resolve, and her refusal to be shaken. They came from voices that questioned her character while ignoring her accomplishments. We must also name a broader truth. Under this national administration, there has been a disturbing and consistent effort to tear down Black women in leadership, particularly those who lead with independence and strength. Black women are often elevated to lead in crisis, but then isolated when the pressure intensifies, scrutinized beyond reason, and left exposed when defense is required. Chief, you led this department through relentless scrutiny and extraordinary pressure, and you delivered. Crime was reduced, accountability was strengthened, stability was restored, and officers were led with clarity and consistency. Communities were served with professionalism. I said what I said. That is leadership. That is accomplishment. And Scripture tells us in Matthew 7:16, you will know them by their fruit. And we know your fruit. There are moments when leaders, especially Black women leaders, require more than quiet encouragement behind closed doors. They require public defense. In these moments, the lifting should have been louder. The support should have been stronger. The defense should have been unmistakable here in DC. It's unacceptable that it was not. To the men and women of Metropolitan Police Department, you were led by a chief who knew the job, respected the badge, and stood between you and the storm more times than will ever be publicly acknowledged. She did not fold, she did not run, and she did not compromise her integrity to satisfy critics. Chief Smith, you have been refined by this season. Remember, diamonds are created by heat, time, and pressure. The fire did not consume you. It has clarified you. At Noble, we say with conviction, we are still here. And today, that declaration stands with you. Your leadership does not end at a walkout. It echoes forward. Your voice is needed. Your example matters, and your legacy, my sister, is secure. So walk out today, as Psalms 27:1 declares, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Walk out knowing storms pass, truth endures, and history, when written honestly, will tell the story very differently than politics in this moment and how it tried to. On behalf of Noble, on behalf of chiefs across the nation, we recognize this burden and this brilliance. And I say, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for standing tall in the storm. Thank you for delivering results under fire. And thank you for reminding us that when the winds rise, rooted leaders do not fall, they endure. God bless you, my sister. God keep you. And Metropolitan Police Department, know this: no weapon formed against you shall prosper. I love you.
Give her another hand. Give her a big hand. Because I love me some.
Okay, we were sitting there watching the walking out ceremony, a symbolic ceremony for now outgoing police chief there in D.C., Pamela Smith. She is stepping down after nearly 2 years and will be replaced in the interim by a Jeffrey Carroll, who's been with the department now for 23 years. That announcement was made earlier this week by the mayor there of D.C. You're hearing the comments that people are sharing of Smith at that time. This comes as there have been some leaders at the federal and mostly at the federal level who have questioned some of the data coming out of D.C. and whether or not it was manipulated to show that crime has dropped. And obviously you heard from the mayor there, Muriel Bowser, say that they have been able to lower crime in D.C., making that a fact on standing on for them. And so obviously they push back at those critiques. So we wanted to show that. And if the now former chief herself comes up, we will go to that as well. Again, reminder to people, as I said at the top of the stream, we are still waiting for the time in which there will be some form of press conference we're expecting today from the NTSB, the federal officials on that deadly plane crash that claimed the lives of former NASCAR driver Greg Biffle and his immediate family and multiple others that took place yesterday morning. And we were on our live stream for quite some time talking about that yesterday morning and afternoon. So as soon as that happens, we do not know when it will happen. Of course, we will take it and go from there. But for now, let's head to the federal level, in which we were able to catch up with Virginia Senator Mark Warner on a few different issues in which he is focusing on right now. We were able to talk to him about one of his initiatives that includes the inaffordability for childcare across the country. That and a recent unveiling of a historic marker on behalf of the state of Virginia in D.C. to honor a teenager who led a movement that eventually took part in the Brown versus Board of Education ruling that ended segregation amongst schools. And so let's go ahead and play a bit of that availability in which we were able to ask some questions and hear from Senator Mark Warner here in Virginia.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the probably final group media avail I'll be doing from Washington, although I'll be at it again next week, even though Congress will be out of session. I've got a lot to go through at the top end, so let me get at it. Really happy that today I'll be introducing a bipartisan bill with Senator Justice from West Virginia called the Child Care Supply Tax Act. I think we all know that the price of child care is one of the affordability issues that is really hurting people. Many times child care could cost almost as much as college. And yet, at the same time, child care workers get paid so much lower than traditional work. Child care worker on median pay is about $14.60 an hour. A more traditional worker, average worker overall, gets paid over $23 an hour, so almost a $10 differential. So what my tax credit bill will do will go directly to those child care providers and can only be used for a salary increase for those child care providers. Not for administrator, not to make base pay, but will actually be a way to increase the salary of these child care providers so they don't move on as often as they have in the past. And we even gave a slight bump up in rural areas because it's particularly hard to get child care providers in rural areas. This isn't going to solve every problem, but we have seen communities that when you've got support to move up the pay of the child care provider, that you can actually then see that translated into lower cost for the families who need child care. So step in the right direction, and at a time when we've got so much partisanship, I'm really glad that my friend Senator Justice from West Virginia joined me on this legislation. Second is an effort that I've been working on for some time, and particularly appropriate here during the holiday season, and that's surveillance pricing. This is the case where based upon data inputs, you change the price based upon how much demand, for example. We talked a lot about this when it appeared that Delta Airlines was using this, where they could figure out, based upon your individual needs, when you might be taking a holiday, or even to the extreme case that you've got a death in the family and need to fly someplace regardless of price. And there was concerns that they might be using this individualized surveillance to price items. We're particularly concerned about this as well in terms of with Christmas shopping around happening real time right now. Are retailers adjusting prices based upon personalized information about you as a consumer? That doesn't make sense. It's not fair. The Biden administration, using the Federal Trade Commission, tried to do a study on this at the end of the Biden administration. The Trump administration, of course, shut that study down. So now a bipartisan group of senators are both trying to get the results of the study released, but also urging the president, and as we saw last night, his screech that barely mentioned affordability. You want to help on affordability? Let's not allow retailers of any type to do this kind of personalized surveillance pricing. I'll be anxious to see if we get any response from the administration. And the senators who are weighing in on this are bipartisan. Third issue is one that, again, I've been working on for some time, and that is addressing the rising level of black lung disease, particularly with our minors. We're seeing younger and younger minors develop black lung. I've seen some folks develop it even in their 30s, and increased amounts of fine particulate silica that is causing this really devastating disease. This mostly affects folks in Southwest, but until you see some of these young men, their survivors, oftentimes widows, or their families who've got this disease that often leads to death, it really is it is hugely troubling. And frankly, the fact that the incidence is going up with younger minors, really a challenge. So 2 pieces of legislation. One is a bill that I've introduced in the past that looks at survivor benefits, how we can increase survivor benefits, how we can make sure that the preponderance of evidence is an indication that if a minor dies from black lung, we're going to try to decrease the amount of hurdles the survivors, the widows, the children will have to go through to get those benefits that I think they have earned and deserve. So one of the black lung bills is on survivors. The other's on just basic black lung benefits, how we can increase some of the benefits for minors who get black lung, make it easier for some of the attorneys to represent some of these cases. And again, I know for a lot of folks around Virginia, this is not a top-of-the-mind issue, but you get into the coal counties and Southwest, and this is literally an issue of life and death. And our miners were the group, particularly through the 20th century, that literally powered America as we became a world power and the dominant world power. I think we owe an obligation to these miners in terms of their overall benefits, their pensions, their welfare, and particularly to continue to take on the scourge of black lung. Last issue on the top, it's been a lot of things that have happened this year have been kind of grim and not always very uplifting. But earlier this week, there was a very powerful ceremony where Virginia we get two statues in Statuary Hall. One is of George Washington. We've decided over many years to add a new statue for Barbara Johns. And the story of Barbara Johns is I got very familiar with back when I was governor. For those of you who cover the state politics, the governor's mansion sits right on Capitol Square. And at that point in the early 2000s, literally every statue on Capitol Square was of a dead white man. And my then second grade daughter, Eliza, was out walking with my wife, Lisa, and she looked at all the statues and said, where's Rosa Parks? She learned about Rosa Parks in school, and Lisa, to her credit, quickly said, well, Rosa Parks was not a Virginian. So our family, working with our legislature, started a process to honor who would be the best example of the civil rights movement from Virginia. Barbara Johns was a 16-year-old young woman who led a walkout at Moton High School down in Farmville. And that case became part of the cases that were included in Brown versus Board of Education. So we put that statue on Capitol Square, first statue of a person of color, first statue of a woman, first statue of children. But it made me such an advocate of how important Barbara Johns' story of both courage and moving Virginia forward. Going forward, fast forward from when I was governor to the last 5 or 6 years, where Senator Kane and I and former Governor Northam and a whole host of folks came together and said, we ought to have a statue of Barbara Johns as one of Virginia's 2 statues in the Capitol. And after a long process, Barbara Johns was selected, and we did an unveiling. Governor Youngkin was there, the members of the Johns family, the Speaker of the House, the Minority Leader, all of the Virginia delegation, and so many of our Virginia legislators. And it really is a remarkable statue, a remarkable Virginian, part of Virginia's history, and I think representative of how far we've come, but also we acknowledge that after the Brown versus Board of Education decision, Virginia went through massive resistance and many schools closed rather than allowing integration. And our history in Virginia is we take a step forward, we take a step back, we come back forward again. And again, I raised the question that we even created a scholarship back when I was governor for those kids who were denied education through massive resistance. So kind of the yin and yang, but the ceremony on Tuesday of this week was really, really moving, and just had a wonderful feel. There was close to 800 people there, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, said he's done a lot of these, never seen a crowd that big. So it was a good way as we go into the holidays to think about a positive presentation for Virginia. Why don't I leave it there, and we've got lots of questions, and I'll turn it over to Catherine to screen the questions.
Hi, Senator Warner. Last night, the president announced a warrior dividend to be handed out to service members by Christmas. We were just looking to get your thoughts on this and if you think it's feasible at all.
Well, listen, I think any kind of bonus to our military at Christmas time is good. But let's be honest here. They didn't announce last night where they're taking this money from. Is something that was in the big bill this past summer that was supposed to go to improvements in military housing. So it's great short term for the military, but let's not pretend that this was some new initiative. They literally are taking it from military housing support, which gives with one hand and takes away with the other. But the real question we've got, which he didn't address last night, and we have literally hundreds of sailors homeported in Norfolk who are down either assisting these boat strikes in the Caribbean or off the coast of Venezuela. I get questions, one, are these boat strikes legal? And two, Is my son or daughter going to be involved in a war? And if the president who continues to try to tighten the screws on Maduro in Venezuela, why he didn't use a national address to say what his intent is, whether those young Virginians and Americans are going to be put in harm's way on a war that he's not made the case for, that the overwhelming majority of Virginians and Americans, I believe, oppose, it was irresponsible. Instead, we got a political screech from an angry man who's increasingly disconnected from Americans, and the idea that, you know, he's trying to sell Americans that their costs have not gone up when they can see it at the grocery store, or they see it with their energy costs, or they see it with their housing or child care costs. It was a pretty stunning missed opportunity, and we still don't know. We still don't know what the president's plans are, and I still can't answer the friends and families of those sailors what this president's intent is as to Venezuela. And that's irresponsible for a commander-in-chief.
Okay, we're going to come off of that because beforehand we were showing you the ceremony for outgoing police chief in D.C., Pamela Smith, and so she is now at the podium and speaking. Let's go ahead and go to hear what she's saying.
Those of you who stood up and told the truth, thank you. You know who you are. Thank you. Thank you. Because this is not the end. But thank you. I'm walking out the door, and somebody said that, I think President Hall said it, I'm walking into something much greater than this. And the mayor said it best to me. She said, Pamela, Chief Smith, this isn't even about you. It's not. It's not. But God chose me to go through this. And I've got to go through this. As angry as I have been. Somebody said hurt. I ain't crying about it though, because ain't no tears in baseball in this game. And I'm not challenging anyone when I say this. And I hope you can understand this from and then I'm going to be done and I'm going to move on out your way. I hope you can understand this from a spiritual context, because the theme of what has resonated in this place is one thing, and that's God. So it's really not about me. It's really about those of you who don't know how good God is. Oh, he showed up today. And he shows up every day in the spirit of who Pamela A. Smith is. When I walk into a room, I know who I am. And some people couldn't. Some folks couldn't handle that. They took my passion for being the angry black woman. I read the article, but you didn't say it like that, but that's what you meant. And sadly, my passion is because I love this work. I love God's people. But I dare not leave without saying something to my haters. Listen, I know you taught me well. We were raised in the church, Bible study, Sunday school, BTU, choir rehearsal, Wednesday night Bible study, Tuesday night Bible study, children's choir, you name it. There's enough Jesus in me that's going to get me to heaven if I die tomorrow. But watch this. You've taught me well, and I just need you to just follow me with this just for a few moments, Mom. Because listen, I listened to her even at 50-something years old. There's nothing, she pretends like we don't listen to her, but we do. So, as I close, to the partners that are here, thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for showing up every single day. Target, thank you. I appreciate you. I adored the work that we did in our community together and to literally drive down crime in our establishments. Make no mistake about it. You can say what you want to say, but I live in this city, and I felt it myself. I felt the shift. And I'm going to say it again. I never, and never will and never would have encouraged, intimidated, retaliated, or told anyone to change their numbers. Never would I have done that. That is not my character. That is not who I am. That is not a part of the person in which God created me to be. I have to walk in the light. And see, the only thing I just want to, and I'm getting there, Mom. Because you know, as old Baptist preachers say we're closing 3 or 4 times. And I'm really closing right now. I see you, Monica. And to my family that's here, there's some folks that came in.
Step into a new 2026 Sportage and set out on your next adventure.
Since I first came to Staten Island when I graduated from college. That's how long these folks have known. They know my character. I preached in their churches. I preached all across the United States of America. Do you? Never mind, because some of y'all think it, but it's okay. So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you. No, it's not a drop the mic moment. Watch me in this space. I forgive you. I forgive you. Because the Bible makes it very clearly. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, when he said to us, Father, even in the pit of agony and defeat, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. God bless you and God keep you. It has been my pleasure to serve the District of Columbia for 2.5 years. It does not matter what goes on from here, but as the mayor said, there's greater things in store for Pamela A. Smith. Mama, I love you. Papa D, I love you. Family, I love you. Let's move on and do what God has called us to be. My church is coming soon. Stand by.
And there you have, that is outgoing police chief out of D.C., Pamela Smith, giving a very spirited speech there to her supporters and colleagues there in the nation's capital. This after she resigns nearly 2 years into her term there in D.C. And at the end here, receiving criticism for those who have accused the Department of manipulating statistics to show that crime data is down. Okay, she's coming back to the stage. Let's see what she's saying right now, and I'll talk a little bit.
That they changed their numbers, and I did not. The report is very clear. I did not direct anyone. You should investigate those folks.
And that will be her response to those allegations, saying that she did not change the numbers and looking into those who may have had a part of that or the allegations that have been placed against the department. So obviously she is very spirited in her way out. Again, she will be replaced, at least in the interim, by Jeffrey Carroll, who was named just earlier this week as they look to present some form of plaque to the outgoing chief there. You see the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, who is doing this presentation, the chief receiving the plaque in the moment. D.C. has really been in the national spotlight in the last several months. This after President Trump issued, having federal officials go down there, National Guard members go down there, in his words, to lessen crime in the area of D.C., which really kind of spearheaded the approach that we saw in various cities for the next several months. And so for a while, that was the conversation over what was going on between the D.C. leadership and then also what we were seeing as a movement by the Trump administration and how the two were going to be able to work together in the midst of all of that. And so there you see there Pamela Smith, who would have been in the mix of all of those conversations, now receiving her outgoing flowers as she has resigned from the position. Okay, I do know we still had more that we were hearing from Virginia Senator Mark Warner. We'll go back to that here momentarily. We'll go back to it now, actually, just to hear his comments that we had in this availability. Meanwhile, I'm monitoring something. If it's something we're going to take live, we'll do so in just a few moments. But let's go ahead and play what we have from Senator Warner, and we'll be right back.
Social media is tiny in terms of its potential to disrupt compared to artificial intelligence. We've already seen examples of where young people have committed suicide because they have been almost encouraged by some ChatGPT-like bot that they look to for emotional support, and they're not getting emotional support. And I've heard some of these stories. It's chilling what these bots are communicating with our young people. We need to put some guardrails there. We've got continued usage. We see more, what's called deep fakes, or the ability, do you really want your daughter's face to appear on a nude that was not her body? And that is appearing on AI-driven imagery. So I think we've got to put some basic safety constraints around AI so we don't see what social media created in terms of mental health taken to an exponentially greater level. There's also going to be, and I think AI has got a lot of positive at the end, but there's going to be some rough disruption. I even think AI will create some additional jobs, but there's going to be 5 years, I think, of enormous job disruption. And where this is going to be particularly acute is those folks getting out of college that have those starter jobs at a bank, at a firm, because all the big firms are cutting their first-year hires in half, and they're going to cut them in half again next year. We've got 9% recent college graduate unemployment right now. I think that number could go to 25% within the next 2 to 3 years. If you have 25% of recent college graduates unemployed, that's a huge cohort, but you've also going to have an awful lot of parents that are appropriately pissed off that they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars financing their kids' education, and there's no job out there. So I am working with the AI community saying, you got to help us fix this. If politicians only fix the solution, you tech guys will say we'll screw it up. So my ask to them is, all right, you help figure out how we better train or equip, particularly those folks coming out of college with the skills they need to get AI-enhanced jobs. You design the program, but you also got to help pay for it. There is more wealth concentration in AI than in any industry we've seen. We see that with the billions and literally trillions of dollars worth of deals being made. So this question of job dislocation is going to be something I'm going to focus a lot on next year. And then finally, and we're already seeing this becoming a huge issue in Virginia and around the country, people are pushing back on the AI data centers. And it is just not fair that these AI data centers, and we have more in Virginia than any other state in the country, aren't paying their fair share of their utility needs. Dominion, I think, is working on something that's forward-leaning, where if you add an AI data center, if there's increased cost, those costs can't be passed on to residential or business users. They have to be absorbed by the enormous power needs of these data centers. I think that is going to become not only a state issue, but a national issue. It's one of the reasons why I think we need all kinds of additional power, and I think it's really short-sighted that the Trump administration is trying to cut back on solar or wind. We've got one of the largest wind projects in the whole country going on offshore of Virginia. Battery power. We need all of the above, and part of that's natural gas as well. We need all of the above to meet these needs. I personally believe that means a fresh look at nuclear power as well. Small modular reactors could be the answer for a cluster of data centers where you don't even need to hook into the grid, where these data centers could actually be powered by SMRs. That's green energy. It wouldn't pass on cost to consumers and might be part of the solution. So, Mitchell, I'm looking at AI safety, I'm looking at AI job displacement, and I'm looking at make sure that consumers don't get stuck with the power needs of these data centers that are part of the AI revolution. Do I think the AI revolution at the end of the day will be positive? Yes. But there will be enormous challenges and disruption. And if we don't get it right, I think you could see, populist moves from both ends of the political spectrum against artificial intelligence. And that in the long run isn't the right answer as well, because who wins the AI race could very well dominate the 21st century. And I'd rather that be America than China.
Our next question is from Nicholas, Falls Church News Press. Nicholas, are you there? Okay, our next question is from Prim with CBS 19.
Hi, Senator. Thank you so much for doing this. My question is how can you and your colleagues justify adjourning/going on holiday knowing that there's still unfinished work to be done with health premiums?
Well, I strongly believe we need to extend these healthcare premiums and don't allow this cliff to take place on January 1st, which will disrupt, 22 million Americans' health insurance and hundreds of thousands of Virginians. And when, as I've made the case many times, when folks lose their health insurance, they show up at the emergency room, and that drives up everybody's costs because that falls into the uncompensated care. I'm happy to be in session next week if we can get a deal. But I don't set the schedule. You ought to ask that question to the majority party, my Republican colleagues in the Senate and the House, and I would particularly hope you would ask that to Republican colleagues, because the Republican-led House took a 54-day paid vacation during the government shutdown, which I think is outrageous. I think we need to deal with that, and the idea that they're going to punt this until next year doesn't make sense to me. But they had their chance. They had their chance to extend these subsidies and chose not to. And I think Virginians and Americans recognize that.
Our next question is from Cameron with WVNF. Cameron, are you there? Our next question is from Gabrielle with Nexstar.
Hi, Senator. I wanted to ask about
Okay, you were hearing words from Virginia Senator Mark Warner, but right now we want to go to some news that is taking place in our region at the moment. Chesapeake fire officials are on the scene of a fire. Our crews are getting video right now, so if you notice, things may go from one shot to another. That is why. But you're looking at this fire with multiple units. This is on Long Ridge Road. We have a picture that captured the height of that fire earlier today around 9 a.m. when they got the first calls there in Chesapeake. We're told that, again, that fire kind of took off around 9 o'clock this morning, shortly after fire crews were on the scene. This is apparently with a large detached garage, and a boat and a vehicle. All were fully in flames when the fire officials arrived there on the scene next to this two-story residence that you're seeing there in the picture. If we can go back now to the live picture there, you can see what it looks like at this moment. That looks to me that that could be either one of those structures there underneath this garage that we were just talking about. Firefighters were able to help each other there from Chesapeake and Virginia Beach, and then also Moyock participated in this to try to knock those flames out. You can see multiple fire officials. They're still on the scene. I do believe our reporter, Brianna Fallon, is there right now trying to get some more information. I know that she talked to someone just moments ago In terms of injuries, what I can tell you right now is that according to the city of Chesapeake, no one was at the house at the time. So that is good. No occupants were at the home at the time of this fire. Neighbors were able to remove the family who lives at this home, their 2 dogs, prior to the fire department arriving too. So no injuries to report. Great for those good neighbors too, stepping in to try to help the family out and getting their pets to safety. But you can see there a lot of damage. That looks to be the vehicle that caught fire. You can see the remnants of probably pieces of the garage as well that after that fire had to be knocked down. According to Chesapeake Fire, just reading through their information that they have given us, this home here will not be livable until repairs are completed. So that means this family, right around the time of the holidays, is going to be displaced. We're told that 2 adults and 2 children live at this home, but they are being assisted with temporary lodging arrangements with relatives, but still not something that you want to see around this time of year, anytime really, but you definitely don't want to see it around the holiday season, as you see the crews are working now to pick up the debris that is left behind. So far, in terms of the cause, fire investigators look to have determined this as an accident. So it is accidental, not necessarily sharing what sparked the fire, but they are saying that the fire itself is accidental. So just wanted to go to that at the moment. We do have, again, Brianna Fallon, who's there. They are working to get more information. I think a lot of it we shared there with you that we got from the city of Chesapeake. So not quite sure how much more they're going to be able to get, but I know they are working hard to be able to do that at the moment. And so just want to show you those live pictures right now. We're waiting a few things to start here live, and one of them looks like it's about to begin right now out of New York. This is a scheduled press conference and announcement by the governor of New York, Hochul, who is speaking apparently with one of the leaders from Ontario. This is in Buffalo, New York. We don't have too much information about exactly what this announcement will be, but we'll go ahead and take it for now and see what they have to say.
We always have and always will do. Want to acknowledge Nicole Butcher, the president and CEO of Ontario Power Generation. Thank you for lending your expertise to the cause. Minister Lecce, the Legislative Assembly from Ontario. Justin Driscoll, our CEO and president of New York Power Authority. Justin, and John Comel, the chairman of the New York Power Authority. All my partners in government. I see our incoming mayor is here. I think anybody else? And Crystal here. Crystal Peoples-Stokes, our Sean Ryan and Crystal Peoples-Stokes, and maybe assembly members and elected officials who have joined us here today. It is great to be here to discuss our energy future. And it's especially fitting we're here at the Buffalo AKG Museum of Art. And why I wanted to come here, of any place in the state I could do this, is that I'm reminded that not this building, but the building that you'll see, the older looking building, is from the 1901 era. And it was built in order to help showcase the fact that Buffalo was basically the epicenter of everything at the time when it came to power, because we were the first city in the world to be electrified. And so we had electric lights. People were fascinated by this. What do you mean electric lights? How can that be? And people came from all over to see this in the entire exhibition. So it was certainly a high point, but a reminder that we can continue energy innovation and how to do power innovation as we venture into this next century again. So Buffalo is known as the City of Light, and actually I would say the museum was built for the exhibition. It wasn't done in time, so it missed the opening, but we still celebrated associated with that as well. But this new building is a reminder of the future, and a reminder that traditions matter. And there's been a long-standing, proud tradition of cooperation between New York and Ontario. This has always been just a neighbor. We've done so much together, and I will just digress and say I'm a boater on Lake Erie. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and we stop at many of the ports of call in Canada, Ontario, and just feel that warm embrace of a shared bond that our region brings to all of us. It's not just sports. Go Blue Jays next time. You did very well this year, but also I know you're rooting for the Buffalo Bills, and you come to hockey games and the baseball games in the summertime as well. And but also our culturals, our tourism. You find me in my old life many times up at Niagara-on-the-Lake or strolling around both sides of the falls. And so it's a world-class region. And we need to continue working together to promote these incredible assets, but also the strength of our friendship and relationship, which is enduring. And I'm also reminded we just came off of the bicentennial, the celebration of the Erie Canal, something that was an extraordinary feat of engineering in its time, but also it opened up Canada to New York City. And that connection also was one of the catalysts for explosive growth, opening up the Midwest, Canadian cities, ultimately the Seaway, St. Lawrence Seaway that came through. So we've always been connected through waterways and energy sources as well. And our economies are intertwined. The trade, despite some setbacks, won't go into too much detail there, but we want to make sure that our trade relationship remains trust. It's a beneficial relationship. We understand that. And I'll acknowledge that there's been some terrible policies that have come out of Washington, coincidentally, just in 1 year. And they've been hard to accept as someone who doesn't understand why there's a hostility toward Canada overall, but certainly it shakes us to our core as well, as people who value our friends in Ontario and Quebec particularly as they border our great state. So I don't want those policies to jeopardize the goodwill, the friendship, and we just want to make sure that that we continue doing things that show that collaboration. And as these threats out of Washington come, we're going to stand firm and let people know who our friends are, who we also care about very deeply. So our partnership between New York and Ontario is rock solid, and as long as I'm governor, it's going to stay that way. And so we sat down together. It's about relationships. Premier Ford and I sat down together. There was a meeting of Northeast governors and the Canadian premiers that all border this region. We got together in Boston to talk about the threats out of Washington, how destabilizing that is for trade and our relationships overall, but how we can individually step up and ignore that process, those threats, that hostility, and show we truly are friends, truly friends. And so we talked about economic opportunities. We also had a great conversation about power. And the Premier spoke with great pride about what is occurring at the Darlington area, where you're focusing on small modular reactors, and I was very impressed. And so I wanted to learn.
Okay, there you go. That is New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who is speaking there about a new partnership that they're working on with Ontario for energy. But right now we are seeing that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is speaking, and we're expecting him to talk about the end of the year for the State Department and the work that they have been doing. I'm hoping we can glean in on where their eyes are set at the moment. So let's listen to Marco Rubio at this time.
Our broader foreign policy has been an important and dramatic reform. Even in the midst of all that, we remain engaged around the world, including in conflicts that perhaps are not central to everyday life in America, but the President has made it a priority to be a peacemaker. And so you've seen us engaged, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or India and Pakistan, or Thailand and Cambodia, which is an ongoing challenge, or the tragedy we see now in Sudan, or the potential for further strife in South Sudan and that falling apart. I mean, no matter Armenia and Azerbaijan, we are always looking for opportunities, if possible, to play the role of a mediator that brings about the avoidance of war or the ending of conflicts. And obviously, in many of these cases, you can get people to the table and agree, and then there's the implementation process. And so we've made progress in many of these, particularly in getting them to agree to certain conditions. Obviously, it's ongoing work to make sure that those are implemented and applied. And some of these, conflicts have deep roots that go back many, many years. But we are prepared to be engaged and helpful in ways that perhaps other nations can't. We've been viewed as indispensable in that regard, and it's a role the President takes great pride in the promotion of peace around the world, and something he deserves a lot of credit for. He is personally engaged in all of this. Obviously, the big one was the situation with Gaza, which again is ongoing. There is now a ceasefire. There's that war is no longer going on at the scale and scope and all the other things that were going on before. But obviously, there's more work to remain. We are still through the process of trying to implement phase 1 and lead to phase 2 and phase 3. That is a long-term project, some of which will extend beyond the 4 years of this administration, but I thought was a very important achievement as well. So we have a lot to be proud about. I know you probably have some specific questions, and we can get to those, but I wanted to let that, lay that out as the preface and predicate for everything we're going to do today. So I'm going to start. How do I start? I'm going to start from the back row forward, and then I'll just juggle in between. I'll be here pretty long, so we'll get to everybody. Don't get desperate. Don't get wild. All right, I'll start with this gentleman with the white hair in the back. Yes, sir.
Ask you about Gaza. U.S. wants Pakistan troops to be in Gaza. Has U.S. got a consent from Pakistan that they will be sending their troops in Gaza for peace building and peacemaking?
Yeah. Well, look, in fairness to all the countries we've talked to about being and having a presence on the ground, I think they want to know specifically, what the specific mandate, what the funding mechanism looks like. So we're very grateful to Pakistan for their offer to be a part of it, or at least their offer to consider being a part of it. I think we owe them a few more answers before we can ask anybody to firmly commit. But I feel very confident that we have a number of nation states acceptable to all sides in this who are willing to step forward and be a part of that stabilization force. And certainly, Pakistan is key if they agree to do so. But I think we owe them a few more answers before we get there. We're trying to make a lot of progress here with I think the next step here is announcing the Board of Peace, announcing the Palestinian Technocratic Group that will help provide daily governance. And then once that's in place, I think that will allow us to firm up the stabilization force, including how it's going to be paid for, what the rules of engagement are, what their role will be in demilitarization and so forth.
Thank you.
Next to you in the back.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for doing this. I want to start with Russia-Ukraine. You mentioned that...
Easy stuff, yeah.
You mentioned your efforts. There are talks going on right now, starting today and this weekend in Miami. What are your expectations from those talks? And the president yesterday made it clear that he expects Ukraine to basically step up before Russia walks away. If you wake up in Odessa, if you're Ukrainian, this morning seeing Russians are bombing, your city, or if you turn on TV and listen to Putin, what he says, why would the Ukrainians, ignore what the Russians are saying publicly and believe in what they're hearing?
Yeah, look, there's a reason why this war hasn't ended, and that is because there's complex factors at play. I know that sounds like a throwaway line, but it's true. What we have tried to do in this entire process, and let's be clear about this. I mean, the United States is engaged in this. The president says this, and I'll translate what I think he's trying to say to you in all of this, and I think he's been pretty clear about it, is it's not our war. It's a war in another continent. We have equities. We have engagement in this war, but it's not our war per se. But we are been told by everybody, I think everybody would agree, that there's only one nation on earth, there's only one entity on earth that can actually talk to both sides and figure out whether there's a way to end this war peacefully, and that's the United States. And we've invested a lot of time, a lot of energy at the highest levels of our government. I believe President Trump has had more meetings with foreign leaders and others on the war in Ukraine than on any other subject, including trade. He's invested a lot of time. Steve and Jared have invested time. I've invested time. The Vice President, the Secretary of War, others, Secretary of Treasury, and more, have invested a tremendous amount of time and energy in this. And what we're trying to figure out here is what can Ukraine live with and what can Russia live with, sort of identify what both sides' positions are and see if we can sort of drive them towards each other to some agreement. Wars end generally in one of two ways. Surrender by one side for another, or a negotiated settlement. We don't see surrender any time in the near future by either side, and so only a negotiated settlement gives us the opportunity to end this war. A negotiated settlement requires two things: both sides to get something out of it, and both sides to give something. And we're trying to figure out what can Russia give and what do they expect to get, what can Ukraine give and what can Ukraine expect to get. In the end, the decision will be up to Ukraine and up to Russia. It will not be up to the United States. So that's the role we are trying to play in this. And that's why you see so many meetings going on. This is not about imposing a deal on anybody. It is about determining what both sides expect and need to have and what both sides are prepared to give in return for it, and figuring out whether we can have those two overlap. And, of course, that takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work. It can't generally be done in the media or in press conferences. I think we've made progress, but we have ways to go. And, obviously, the hardest issues are always the last issues. Yes. All right, I'm going to go to the next row, that gentleman right there with the glasses. Well, right behind you, because you're not the next row. That's the next row, right there. Yes?
Thank you. I
I'd like to ask how you
I'm
view...
sorry, I didn't. Okay,
Oh.
go ahead. You can start. I hadn't seen you. I'd seen it, but you can go because you're first on that row. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so
As
much.
a well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen. So go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Thanks. I'd like to ask how you view recent escalation of tensions between Japan and China. You've been known for your tough rhetoric towards China over the years. Do you condemn China's recent provocative actions against Japan?
Yeah, no, I think I've been nice to China, in terms of the work we have to do with them. And, I had another job. My job now is I represent the President of the United States and the United States in foreign diplomacy, and I think we've made good progress with the Chinese. The Japanese are a very close ally of the United States. I think these tensions are pre-existing. We understand that's one of the dynamics that has to be balanced in that region, and I believe that we feel very strongly that we can continue with our strong, firm partnership and alliance with Japan and do so in a way that continues to allow us to find productive ways to work together with the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. Look, there'll be tensions. There's no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, China is and it will continue to be a rich and powerful country and a factor in geopolitics. We have to have relations with them. We have to deal with them. We have to find the things we are able to work together on. And I think both sides are mature enough to recognize that there will be points of tension now and for the foreseeable future. Our job as part of responsible statecraft is to find opportunities to work together, because I think if there's a global challenge that China and the U.S. can work together on, I think we can solve it. And there'll be points of tension. We well recognize that, and our job is to balance these two things. I think both sides understand that. And I think we can do that without imperiling or in any way undermining our very firm commitment to our partners in the Indo-Pacific. That includes not just Japan, but South Korea. And obviously, if you extend further out, I don't want to leave anybody out, but India and Australia and New Zealand and all the other countries. And we also have growing and burgeoning relationships with countries like Vietnam. And even Cambodia, that we really haven't had, very close contacts with historically. But we've talked to them a lot lately, obviously through the context of the conflict going on with Thailand, but also to figure out opportunities to work together strategically. And I say Thailand, of course, we've had a very long and strong strategic alliance with them for many years. All right, now, yes, sir.
Thank you. Gracias, señor secretario. 2 puntos concretos en español. Bajo esta lógica hemisférica, ¿han considerado ampliar la presión más allá de Venezuela o Colombia a regímenes como los de Nicaragua o Cuba? Y segundo, esta semana en el Congreso se denunciaba que México está mandando decenas de buques petroleros a Cuba con la preocupación de que eso financia la dictadura. ¿Debería México reconsiderar esta política de asistencia al régimen cubano?
I'm going to answer in Spanish if that's okay, guys, and then I'll do it in English as well. And does somebody do closed caption on that? Can they do it? It doesn't matter because I'm going to say the same thing in English. Mira, la amenaza más importante que existe en la región es estos grupos terroristas criminales. Es la amenaza que enfrenta a Colombia, la amenaza que enfrenta el hemisferio entero, pero es la raíz de la violencia en Ecuador, en México, en todo Centroamérica, en todos estos países. Es la amenaza más primordial de la región. Entonces tenemos gobiernos que cooperan en nuestros esfuerzos en contra de eso. Panamá, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, la República Dominicana. No dejo a nadie fuera, pero son muchos que cooperan. Tenemos y seguimos teniendo muy buenas relaciones con los equipos de seguridad de Colombia. Entiendo que el presidente de Colombia es una persona inusual, pero encima de eso tenemos, al nivel institucional, tenemos muy buenas relaciones y con México. El gobierno de México está haciendo más en este momento en el tema de seguridad que jamás en su historia. Queda mucho por hacer, pero tenemos cooperación. En el tema de Venezuela no tenemos eso, tenemos un régimen ilegítimo que no simplemente no coopera con Estados Unidos, sino coopera abiertamente con elementos criminales. Por ejemplo, el ELN y la FARC operan abiertamente desde territorio venezolano. Entidades de narcotráfico operan abiertamente y con la cooperación del régimen de Maduro para mandar drogas como cocaína a Estados Unidos a través del Caribe, creando una situación muy grave de seguridad en muchísimos países, inclusive Trinidad, República Dominicana, etc. Así que Estados Unidos lo que simplemente está buscando es la seguridad del hemisferio, que incluye, por ejemplo, Haití también. Y no hemos visto enfocado en eso. Obviamente los esfuerzos en contra de los barcos narcotraficantes saliendo de Venezuela han recibido mucha atención. Lo que no se habla lo suficiente, lo que estamos haciendo también en el mar Pacífico, donde hay esfuerzos andando también. La diferencia es que ahí tenemos la cooperación de gobiernos amigos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo junto con los mexicanos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo para crear una fuerza de estabilidad antipandilla dentro de Haití. Lo que no se está hablando es toda la cooperación que existen con todos estos gobiernos para llevar a cabo esta guerra en contra de estos elementos terroristas, criminales, que operan abiertamente dentro de nuestra región y que amenazan los estados de esta región. La buena noticia es que este nuevo año nos va a traer más gobiernos en el hemisferio que están dispuestos a cooperar en países como Bolivia, en Chile. Obviamente ya tenemos grandes amistades en lugares como Paraguay y Argentina. Y en fin, la reelección del presidente en Ecuador, la cooperación que existe en muchos países y esperemos poder ampliar esas relaciones con otros países también. Así que el esfuerzo se trata de eso y en eso estamos enfocados. Y obviamente tenemos que determinar cuáles son las fuentes de inseguridad en la región. Y esa fuente, la razón por la cual Venezuela ha recibido tanta atención, es porque Venezuela es un país que no simplemente, es un régimen ilegítimo, que no simplemente no coopera con nosotros, sino abiertamente coopera con elementos criminales y terroristas, incluyendo Hezbollah, Irán y otros. Y obviamente estos grupos narcos cooperan abiertamente desde ahí. The question and it's a question many of you might have as well, is when it comes to the Western Hemisphere, the single most serious threat to the United States from the Western Hemisphere is from transnational terrorist criminal groups, primarily focused on narco trafficking, but they're in all sides businesses as well. So the good news is we have a lot of countries in the region that openly cooperate and work with us to confront these challenges. Mexico, their level of cooperation with us is the highest it's ever been in their history. Throughout Central America, for the most part, except for maybe Nicaragua and to some extent Honduras, we've had great cooperation from Ecuador, from El Salvador, from Ecuador being in South America, but across the Pacific coast where we're also undertaking efforts. Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, these are all nations that cooperate with us openly in search of stability in the region. You move to the Caribbean basin, in Trinidad, in Guyana, in Jamaica, in the Dominican Republic, countries that openly cooperate with us. Even Colombia, despite its unusual president, has institutions in that country that work very closely with us, and those ties remain unimpeded and unaffected. So all of this is very positive. There's one place that doesn't cooperate, and it's the illegitimate regime in Venezuela. Not only do they not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with terrorist and criminal elements. For example, they invite Hezbollah in Iran to operate from their territory. But they also allow the ELN and the FARC dissidents not just to operate from inside of Venezuelan territory, to control Venezuelan territory, unencumbered, unimpeded. On top of that, we know that they are in cahoots with drug trafficking organizations. It's not just that they don't work with us against these organizations. Okay? It's that they openly, cooperate with these guys and allow them to operate. So these guys are, marching in and out, doing whatever they want from Venezuelan territory, and it's a challenge. And so that's why that's received so much attention. But I would urge you to not just focus on that, but also focus on all the other things we're doing in the region, including, for example, standing up this gang suppression force in Haiti, which we were looking for 5,500 forces. We already have pledges of up to 7,500 forces from a variety of countries. We've seen donors step up to fund that effort. That's a very important effort. It all ties together cohesively. But the goal here is to bring security and stability to the hemisphere, to the region we live in, okay, which has not received enough attention. To bring the elements of American power to achieve that, to do it in partnership with as many countries as are willing to work with us in that regard. That's the goal here, and it's comprehensive and involves more than just one place. What makes Venezuela stand out is that the regime there actually cooperates with the terrorists. Yes, sir. In that row right there. Yeah, right there in the middle.
The hemisphere. The White House recently put out the national security strategy, essentially reorienting towards the Western Hemisphere.
It was
How
good,
is
right?
strategy going to? Yeah.
Well, I was involved.
So
in
you can
writing.
answer from both hats, I guess.
Exactly.
But how is that strategy going to dictate your relationship with other hemispheric powers like Canada and Mexico?
No, I mean, we want to partner with as many people. I mean, they face the same threats that we do. I mean, it's Mexican mayors that are being assassinated in public squares. It's Mexican journalists that are being assassinated. It's parts of Mexico and institutions in Mexico that in some cases are compromised, usually through threat by these elements. They recognize it, which is why they're partnering with us. Of course we want to work with other governments in the region to confront this challenge. And in most cases, we have cooperative places. Now, we don't have that from Nicaragua or Cuba, but obviously didn't have it historically from Bolivia. We hope and expect that will change. And we certainly don't have that from the regime in Venezuela, who actually don't just not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with narco-trafficking elements that use Venezuela as a transshipment point. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Today you had the second round of direct negotiations between Lebanon and Israel. Do you foresee a potential deal between these two countries without another round of war? And the second question, if I may, on Sudan. We know, Mr. Secretary, it's a civil war, but also there's a regional factor here. Where the U.S.
regional what, I'm sorry?
Factor in this war. Where the U.S. stands here, and what's a red line for you? Is a divided Sudan is a red line for the U.S.?
Yeah, let's separate the two because they're both easy questions, right? So the first one is we're hopeful. Look, at the end of the day, the goal everybody shares is a strong Lebanese government that controls the country, and Hezbollah is disarmed. They're no longer an armed element that can threaten Israel's security. That's the goal here. And we have tried to, in a cooperative way, to do everything we can to empower the Lebanese government to have the ability to do that. And so I hope that's what these talks are aimed towards, and we'll be supportive in every way we can to achieve that outcome. What I think is abundantly clear to everybody is no one is in favor of a Hezbollah that can once again threaten the region, act as a direct Iranian proxy, and obviously if they threaten Israel, we're not going to have peace. So we are hopeful that the talks between Lebanese authorities and the Israelis will create outlines and a way forward that prevents further conflict. I think I don't speak for the Israeli government. I can only tell you and echo what they've said publicly, and that is that if they feel threatened by Hezbollah, they will take actions in their defense against them. So we all would hope that we could avoid that, right? We would all hope that in order to have peace, you have to avoid that, and the best way to avoid it is to have a strong Lebanese government that can actually control the country, and that Hezbollah is no longer an armed threat to Israel or to the Lebanese state. And that's what we're committed to hoping to achieve. And we hope that, I can't speculate on what the talks will lead to, but we'll do everything we can to make them productive. On Sudan, you've rightfully outlined, I mean, there are regional elements to this. I mean, there are clearly both sides, the SAF and the RSF have supporters from outside of Sudan's borders that are involved, and we've been engaging with those countries. It's not just countries that are providing them weaponry and equipment, it's also countries that are providing transshipment, particularly to the RSF to receive weapons, in some cases advanced weaponry. Our goal right now in the short term, and what we've emphasized to everybody, including in my calls with leaders in the UAE, leaders in Saudi Arabia, we're very engaged in that. Our special envoy, Mossad Boulos, just returned from the region, meeting with the Egyptians, with the Saudis, with the UAE, and others. We've also been in collaboration with the UK on some of this. Our goal, the immediate goal we have, is a cessation of hostilities, a humanitarian truce going into the new year that allows humanitarian organizations to be able to deliver aid to the people in great distress. Right now, that's not possible. We are hearing, continue to see reports of humanitarian convoys actually being struck on their way in. And so you can just imagine what's amazing to us is these convoys are struck and the rest of the convoy continues. That's how committed these groups are. But what we said to everybody on it is that what's happening there is horrifying. It's atrocious. That one day the story of what's actually happened there is going to be known and everyone involved is going to look bad. And we have played the role we have played is a convening role in bringing the parties to the table. So I think we will know more very soon about whether this is possible. One of the challenges and frustrations in Sudan has been that one side or the other will commit to certain things, and then they won't live up to those commitments. They'll agree to anything and implement nothing. And oftentimes what happens is when one side feels like they're making advances in the battlefield, they don't necessarily see the need to concede at that point because they believe they're on the verge of achieving some success on the ground, and a truce would set them back. But what we've emphasized is none of these groups can operate without the support they're receiving externally. So we have been engaging with the countries involved from the outside to ensure that they are at the table and that they are pushing for the same outcome that we want, which is phase one, a humanitarian truce that at a minimum allows us to deal with the humanitarian calamity that occurs there. And obviously we hope that while that truce is ongoing, we can focus on the other elements that led to this conflict and help to resolve some of those. But our number one priority we're focused on, 99% of our focus is this humanitarian truce and achieving that as soon as possible. And we think that the new year and the upcoming holidays are a great opportunity for both sides to agree to that, and we're really pushing very hard on that regard. Yes, sir. Right there, because I missed
Secretario
you.
Rubio, en español,
Sí.
si me permite. El presidente Trump ha llamado al presidente Gustavo Petro drug leader y ha usado, digamos, términos
Bueno, él también ha dicho cosas a nosotros.
Totalmente,
Okay,
totalmente.
Claro, ok.
Secretario Rubio, ¿hay alguna prueba o por qué esta administración llama a Gustavo Petro? Quisiera saber por qué esta administración llama a Gustavo Petro un líder del narcotráfico. Y por último, secretario, si usted considera eventualmente ante la invitación que hace Gustavo Petro ahora al presidente Trump o a usted ir a Colombia y conversar con Gustavo Petro?
No, nosotros
Gracias.
conversamos con cualquiera. Desafortunadamente es una persona que no es muy estable en su pronunciamiento, pero no vamos a permitir que la actuación de un presidente, que al fin su término termina pronto, vaya a dañar la relación que existe entre Estados Unidos y Colombia, una relación muy cerca, una relación que se ha establecido a través de los últimos 50 años, una relación importante comercial, diplomática, militar, de seguridad, uno de los grandes socios y aliados que tenemos en la región. Y lo que queremos, no vamos a permitir que cualquier tipo de problema que existan con un individuo vaya a hacerle daño a esta relación tan importante. Esperemos que en el futuro exista la oportunidad de tener más cooperación a los niveles más altos del gobierno colombiano, pero no vamos tampoco a dañar, o no queremos dañar, a todas las relaciones que tenemos y los enlaces que tenemos, incluso con individuos en el cuerpo legislativo y también con oficiales electos al nivel local. Muchísimos alcaldes y de diferentes lugares dentro de Colombia que también tienen muy buena relación con Estados Unidos y la amplia y estrecha relación que existe entre nuestros pueblos también. The question is again by Colombia. I said, look, we're not going to let sort of the pronouncements of an unstable individual over there to impact. We don't want to let it impact our broader relationship with Colombia. It's an important relationship, an important alliance. It extends through commercial, people to people, cultural, obviously security and stability, all of these things. And our job is to try to the extent possible, maintain those strong ties between Colombia and the United States and not allow them to be imperiled by the pronouncements of one person. We would hope to see a day soon in which we have better relations with the leader of that country, but we're not going to let the fact that doesn't exist now, we're going to do everything possible to not let that impact the relationships we have with the people of Colombia, with the nation, with their economy, with their security forces, which are very important. This is a very important alliance, a very important strategic partnership, which we've built up through a lot of hard work over decades. And we're not going to let that fall apart because of one person. If that changes and he changes, that would be great. And obviously, in May, there'll be a new president there and there'll be elections, and we'll work hopefully more cooperatively with whoever replaces the current president, but that's up to the people of Colombia. Did I not get your question? Go ahead.
Thank you. Returning to Gaza, what is the U.S. understanding of what Hamas is willing to concede on disarmament? Reports suggest that Hamas might hand
Okay, we're coming out of that right now. You were just listening to Secretary of State Marco Rubio answering a number of questions from reporters as he gives his end of the year address there. But I want to turn our attention now to breaking news out of Chesapeake. Federal officials are accusing outgoing Chesapeake Sheriff Dave Rosado of serious Hatch Act violations. They say by trying to pressure his staff to directly support his campaign. Now, this is according to U.S. Office of Special Counsel that also is naming Under Sheriff Christopher Pascal. Now, if you remember, Sheriff Rosado Sheriff Rosado lost the most recent election here in November, and he will be outgoing in January. But Rosado and his undersheriff are accused of repeatedly using Sheriff's Office personnel, resources, and events to advance Rosado's candidacy. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Hatch Act, it prohibits certain state and local officers and employees from using their official authority to influence election or to coerce political contributions, okay? Now, Rosado's term ends next month, as I just told you. Again, this is after he not only lost the election once, but twice in this last cycle. Both of those to Chadwick Wallace, the first time as a Republican primary candidate and then again as a write-in candidate in November. Now, in this OSC press release, they say Rosado and Pascal did several different things to violate the Hatch Act, and amongst those, they say they directly solicited money from Sheriff's Office employees for the campaign, including confronting an employee about a $500 contribution and asking employees about the status of their donations. They say that the Sheriff's Office supervisors were assigned quotas to sell tickets for campaign fundraisers and were expected to pay the balance of the tickets that they did not sell. They also say that employees were told to canvass neighborhoods, place campaign signs, and work polling sites during elections. And one more thing that I took note of, and they say that employees reported fear of retaliation if they did not provide enough support for Rosado's campaign. Now, of course, the sheriff has responded this morning in a statement here to 13 News Now saying that I strongly disagree with the findings referenced by the Office of Special Counsel. As a constitutional officer, I do not believe the OSC has jurisdiction or authority over a local sheriff or my undersheriff under the Hatch Act. We believe these allegations are legally flawed and politically motivated. Both Undersheriff Christopher Pascal and I will be formally appealing this decision through the appropriate legal channels. At all times, he says, my focus has remained on serving the citizens of Chesapeake and carrying out the duties of this office lawfully and responsibly. Because this matter is now under appeal, he says he will not comment any further. We do have a team that is working on this story today. I do believe our reporter, Madison Schlegel, is working to get more information about these allegations that are coming down from these federal officials. Obviously, you hear there in that statement that Rosado says that he will not be commenting further, but we will see what information we can get on this matter. Obviously, that would be big news in terms of what will happen next. Obviously, we don't know what will happen next and what will take forward in an investigation, but we do know that the Office of Special Counsel looks into these types of matters involving the Hatch Act, which was created to try to provide some form of separation between the elected officials and what we see in publicly supported offices and political campaigns. And we will have to wait to see what will come out of that investigation. But obviously, we hear there from Rosado that they do anticipate an appeal on behalf of himself and for the undersheriff. But that news coming in, that release by the Office of Special Counsel coming in last night, and this morning we're receiving this response from the outgoing sheriff there in Chesapeake, who has done a lot in the community. As you see there, we have video and footage of him working with children and some of the initiatives that he has taken part of there during his time as sheriff there in Chesapeake. So certainly this would be big news for those within that Chesapeake community. And I will say this, I don't recall the last time I've seen the federal office with the special counsel pulling up some kind of investigation like this into a local sheriff or local office. So I do wonder even how rare something like this is with not only at this level, but with those two entities from a federal into a local sheriff office. So all of these are questions I'm sure that we will be looking to answer here momentarily, but wanted to break in with that news as we close out this stream here in the next few minutes. I do believe right now we can catch the last few seconds here. Let's go ahead and take a few more moments here with Secretary of State Marco Rubio before we close out here for this stream ahead of 13 News Now at noon.
¿Cómo vamos a pretender cuando tienes un presidente diciéndole a los elementos de seguridad que no cooperen con Estados Unidos? Eso no lo podemos ignorar. Pero por otra parte entendemos que tenemos dentro del sistema colombiano, incluso al nivel legislativo, en el Congreso, en el Senado, también alcaldes y otros líderes políticos de ese país que sí quieren buenas relaciones con Estados Unidos, y incluso líderes que no son de derecha, que son de izquierda, pero que entienden la importancia de esa relación. Pero esto no se trata de ni izquierda ni derecha, se trata que si va a cooperar con Estados Unidos o no. Tenemos una larga historial de cooperar con Colombia, que fue un ejemplo y un modelo para la región, y ahora tenemos algo un poco menos, que es lamentable. Ojalá que eso cambie. The question was about whether the U.S. relations to Colombia is dependent on whether they elect a leader that's center-right or center-left. It has nothing to do with left or right. It has to do very simply with whether or not we have a leader there that we can work with. The U.S.-Colombian relationship, especially our security relationship, but also our economic one with a free trade agreement, is a model. It was a model for the region. We tried to replicate that. Everybody would use Plan Colombia as an example of what you need to do in these other places. And we want to continue that. Now, no doubt, when you have the president of a country saying some of the things and ordering some of the things that he's ordered, it's going to have an impact on some of that relationship. Our job is to try to preserve and protect as much of that relationship as possible, but it will be impacted. But it doesn't matter whether the next president is center-right or center-left. That's not the issue. The issue is whether the next president is someone who's going to, once again, cooperate with the United States and restart these relations. That's what we seek. And if President Petro changes in his stance, perhaps that could change as well. But if he doesn't, obviously, it'll be up to the people of Colombia to elect their next president. Yes, ma'am, right there in the middle. I don't want you guys to think I'm only picking the Spanish ones, okay? I actually don't know who any, well, there's a list here, but I can't even read it without these glasses. All right. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Perdón.
Secretario Rubio, usted lleva años denunciando el régimen de Nicolás Maduro y estuvo, entiendo, hace poco en una conversación telefónica donde hablaron el presidente Trump y Nicolás Maduro. Quisiera preguntarle cómo sintió a Nicolás Maduro en esa conversación, usted que lo conoce desde hace años, pues su